to order at 6 o'clock. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We are being broadcast live over YouTube and our local cable television station. Clerk Wright, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Warren.
Here.
Trustee Martin. Here. Trustee Frazier. Here. Trustee Miller. Here. Trustee Bud. Here. President Recommendation. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you. First one is the executive summary of the meeting tonight. We're going to have our usual consent agenda, our meeting minutes, our board meeting minutes, basically paying our usual bills. Where did I go? Executive summary of the agenda. There. Okay. New business includes discussion on a guaranteed maximum price to build our new community center. This also includes a variance on the Van Buren Township Engineering Standards Manual, discussion on the community center project's budget, discussion on a special land use request for the redevelopment of Myers grocery store over there, discussion on scheduling a hearing for the establishment of the Greenbrier subdivision, a special assessment district to put in new roads, and an action plan grant package with the DDA. Next item is adoption of the agenda. I would ask that the agenda be revised slightly to move line item number 2 to 1, and then everything else will flow after that.
I will make a motion.
Okay.
I will make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented with the addition of the personal service agreement between Van Buren Township and Ron Akers as the municipal service director. Item number 8 would approve the fireworks permit application by the River of Life Church for August the 13th for their fireworks display. And then move item number 2 to item number.
Support by Trustee Boynton. Thank you. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is adoption of the consent agenda. Trustee Boynton.
Yes. I move that we adopt the consent agenda, which includes the following: work study meeting minutes of July 5th, board meeting minutes of July 5th, prepaid list of July 7th and July 14th, the voucher list of July 19th, all of 2022.
Support.
I have a motion by Trustee Boynton, supported by Treasurer Bud. Hearing no discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? This motion passes. We next move down to a public hearing. We have no public hearing today. Correspondence, announcements, and presentations. I'll start with Treasurer Bud.
I guess what we would like to announce is that the fair will be starting the first week of August. The first full week of August will be the Wayne County 4-H Fair. Come out and support the kids, and because they're very involved with all their animals and all that there. Thank you.
Thank you. We did get a nice letter from Lisa Loffinger, whose mother passed a while back. And she wanted to thank us for the lovely card and photo arrangement from the Board of Trustees and all the Van Buren Township staff. Goes on to talk about their commitment to service and the many wonderful things that her mother did. She served in many boards and commissions out of Belvedere. Her father also campaigned and was the mayor pro tem of Belvedere. And she just says a very lovely letter, and I want to make sure everybody knows about it. So that's that. I also want to announce that we have an annual Shred Day coming up. Annual Shred Day, July 30th. These are very popular. Shred Day, July 30th. Bring us all your records and stuff. Bring them outside. It's from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in our front parking lot. We will post it and probably put it in the newspaper. All right. Anybody else have any presentations or announcements?
I guess just to announce that the clerk's office is continuing giving out application for ballots every day, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And we will be open July 30th. That's 30th. Because July 30th also. 7 to 3.
Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna go on to public comment. Is there anybody here that wishes to make public comment on any of the agenda items, which include the Greenbrier thing, and also includes the community center? Does anybody want to make any comments? Here, one more time, you're welcome to come and make any comments. Okay, we're moving forward to unfinished business. We have none. First item is new business, which would be line item number 2. Discussion on and consider approval of the variance from engineering standards of the Van Buren Township Engineering Standards Manual to allow expansion of an existing dry detention basin to serve the stormwater detention needs of the township campus, this place, including the new community center. Director, actually, I need a motion and these, trustee Martin. Oh, trustee Boynton, I'm sorry. And who does this support? Great. All right, Director, Director Power.
Thank you, board. Thank you for having me here tonight to discuss this item. I'm going to be just touching on one small piece of a much larger project. This is a request for a variance from this township's engineering standards, specific to the expansion of a dry detention basin, which I can describe in kind of a general level here tonight. And the township's engineering standards manual was adopted in 2014, the current version of it. And in those standards, typically detention basins that are meant to hold stormwater have to have a 4-foot deep permanent pool of water in them. And in this case, what we're looking at is an existing condition of an existing basin to the south of people refer to as the DPW yard, or the water and sewer parking area and storage yard, where there's currently stormwater that enters this area and then leaves through an outlet that is connected to a pump station that takes the water out towards Tyler Road. What is being requested in this case is to expand that system rather than to build a new wet system with fencing and a 4-foot pool of water for various reasons that I'll go over. This type of request does not come up that often, but the site that we're looking at here is a pretty unique site in the context of development in the township, because it is a campus with a lot of outdoor programming. There's an existing pond there that falls under this type of design rather than what's in the newer design standards that the township has adopted. So I'll run through my slide here. I'm going to refer to something from the township engineer that was provided regarding this, and run through a couple of other images to show you a little bit of context. And then I invite you to ask me questions as well. I will mention that this has been ingrained in the review of the community center project over the last 6-8 months. The Township Planning Commission has reviewed this project in depth, and the township engineer has been involved the whole way as well. So this is something that's been consensus of staff and the Planning Commission over the months. But as I'll mention here, the township board has the authority to consider a variance from the township engineering standards. So according to the Van Buren Township Engineering Standard 6A1B, a detention basin must be designed to have a permanent pool with a minimum depth of 4 feet. Now, there's a variety of criteria that the board can consider when considering a variance from the standards. The first one is that there are special circumstances or conditions affecting the subdivision or project improvement, such that a strict application of provisions of the engineering standards will deprive the applicant of reasonable use of the property. So What I wanted to point out here is that this is an open area with a shallow slope, which is important for the site's overall flow and programming. To have a fence and a steep drop off there, either or a fence or a steep drop off there, that is typical of a more conventional pond would be, in staff's opinion, problematic for the overall programming of the site. And then additionally, the pond is adjacent to an area that's planned for recreation and entertainment. So, by the same token, you don't want this to be kind of a dead space in the campus. The board can also consider whether the variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of substantial property rights of the applicant. But what I also want to highlight are standards 3 and 4 here, that an alternative proposed by the applicant can be adequate for the intended use and shall not be substantially deviate from the performance that would be obtained from strict enforcement of the standard or obtained from a deeper, more permanent pool. And that the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property in the area in which the property is situated. So I just want to point out here that in more layman's terms, what we're looking at is the pond still going to function as a dry pond? It's the same benefit as a wet pond would. And what we're looking at in that regard is it holding enough water? And regarding stormwater volume, the basin has been sized to hold adequate stormwater volume. And then regarding stormwater quality, your stormwater management system should also filter out sediment and take out particulate pollution as well. So we have to look at that part of this as well. In a typical wet pond, those particulate materials pass through the basin and settle slowly in that permanent pool. This site is not really configured to allow that type of a flow through design. And with this proposed pond, an equivalent water quality objective is met by the water passing through a stormwater quality structure on the outside of the pond. And additionally, some sediment will be filtered out by the pond when it's filled. I did receive a kind of a letter to back up this particular part of the project from the township engineer, which I was not able to include in the packet. But he refers to this detention solution meeting the requirements for the new center and also fixing some ongoing issues with the current basin in terms of how the outlet works in this basin. There are some issues with that pump station. Without that pass through of water through the pond, a permanent pool would not be beneficial, or the benefits would be greatly reduced. But I'll summarize just his points here. When the design was proposed, some factors that were considered before determining a final path forward in design were safety, child and pedestrian safety due to the proximity of the deep pond and the activity center. Land use limitations, no need for fencing. There can be more gradual slopes, and there's really no need for barriers. You can consider wildlife impacts. A wet pond can tend to attract more mosquitoes and other wildlife in the area. And then an existing pond integration, the existing pond on site was designed with similar parameters and can be easily integrated. So a lot of this is already there. I'll just show a couple of other things to support this request quickly, because I know there's a big agenda tonight. But again, this is the existing. You can just barely tell where this exists. You can see kind of that slightly darker area where the lettering is on the image. That's where the existing dry basin is. And what this plan does is really just expands it into a kind of a bigger circle in that area. And just as a frame of reference, you can see, this here would be your conventional wet detention basin. On the bottom right part of the screen, that's adjacent to Walmart. You can see the big fencing and the steeper slopes and the deeper pond. But then you look at some other campus sites throughout the township, like at Tyler Elementary School and Haggerty School. We at the township don't have much to do with the design of those campuses, because the state of Michigan handles those designs. But what you can see here is that they're lacking kind of that traditional deep pond, which would be the same as what we're talking about here. You're looking at an open site with not having kind of a stark feature like that in the center of it. So it would be more like what you see on the screen on the school sites than what you see on the Walmart site. So in summary, staff and the township engineer support this deviation from the typical standards, and we ask the board to consider granting it to help assist the community center design.
Question, how deep will this pond be?
It has, I don't know the exact depth off the top of my head. It has, the slopes are roughly 1:6, and it will cover that area. It's south of the DPW yard, so it's I don't know the exact area, and I don't know the depth, but what happens is within 48 hours after a rain event, you'll see a foot or two of water slowly settle out of that pond, and it should be dry most of the time. But it's about a little less than 20% slope on the sides of it.
And there's no concern about children, since we're building this community center, going over there, wandering over there?
So that definitely was a big point of discussion during this review. The shallow slopes and the fact that it's going to kind of blend in with the grass most of the time, and that there will be occasionally some water in there, it's going to be a lot shallower than the traditional pond would be. So we don't think it's a concern. There's also the ability to kind of berm it and landscape around it to separate it from the rest of the site.
Great, we want to keep those children safe. And curiosity, children are just naturally drawn to water, so.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Just further, but-
Now that you mention it, Richie, that's why I spent a couple meetings in the planning commission, because we were very concerned that we didn't want water, we didn't want kids wandering down there. So I think we spent an extra lot of time meeting with the engineers and stuff. So my greatest fear is I do not want to ever have to worry about water for the kids.
Or a situation.
Right.
Mhm.
Any other questions? No?
Through the chair. Would it be opposable to erect a small fence around that? Would that be something to consider just as an extra measure of safety?
That would be something the board would consider, but the current design does not have that. And what we've talked about most recently is landscaping and berming that just kind of conceals it. It's not well, it is an open campus. It's somewhat near the splash pad. It's a little bit off to the side from the pavilion, but it's not an area that kids would likely be crossing over regularly. So I don't know that a fence is necessary if there's going to be adequate landscaping and a small berm in some parts around it. It's not part of the current design, but I guess I'd leave that up to the board to discuss further.
But that just feels it just holds water temporarily due to excessive rain or runoff that's from our parking lots. That's runoff from our parking lots. And
Yes.
typically it stays in the pond how long?
It should release in the course of 48 hours.
And it could possibly get how deep is it?
The township engineer mentioned that it could hold up to 2 feet of water during that time frame at really high rain events. I don't know for how long it would be at that depth. I'd have to look at we probably have to look at the stormwater calculations and have the engineer report something back on that.
Through the chair, I'd rather be safe than sorry. I'd rather look at the cost of a fence than to look back one day and regret our decision when we vote on this. 2 feet of water near the splash pad, just kids are curious and they slip away in a matter of seconds. So I don't want to take a chance with anyone. So I hope we'll look at that further.
It was a topic of the discussion of the planning commission for a long time.
I'm sure it was.
So I guess the answer would be, if anybody who suspects it's going to be dangerous once we build it. Add this Genesis, I don't think that's much money, is it? That's
Work with the community services team to look at some cost estimates for it. And at the same time, report back on more of the design details.
the project as it stands right now, you understand the concern. I guess I'm asking, are there any other questions? We're not adjusting this, we're just basically saying, keep an eye on it, right? Say yes. Okay. All right. Okay, so that I have a motion by trustee Boynton, support by trustee Frazier. Hearing no further discussion. All who's
in
for?
favor?
Thank you.
Say aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, we're moving on to what was number 2, what was number 1. Trustee Martin, would you please make this motion?
We approve the guaranteed maximum price amendment to Frank Rewald and Sons current community center construction manager contract for a total of $12,918,868.
Support.
Okay. Director Renaud.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. So repeating myself from the work session really does not take the magic away from this moment for me. I just really want to state that I'm excited and proud to be standing in front of you today to present the community center project for approval alongside the rest of our team who's been working really hard. So we do have Eric Henry from Newman Smith Architecture, Kurt Ryder from Frank Rewald and Sons, Robert Sempian from St. Marion Cresta, and our PBT core project team, Jennifer Zangline, here joining us tonight. So the first item that we'll be addressing is the GMP amendment to Frank Rewald and Sons contract. Robert Sempian from St. Marion Cresta will be presenting the recommendation for the GMP approval, and then after that, Frank Rewald and Sons, Kurt Ryder will follow with a brief introduction and a GMP summary.
Good evening. I just wanted to give you a brief summary of our recommendation, which you'll see in your board packet. Basically, it's outlining the GMP recommendation for this project. This was a joint effort amongst our team members, which would be St. Marion Cresta, Newman Smith Architecture, Frank Rewald and Sons, and the Van Buren Township Administration. This was a very lengthy process that we went through. A lot of it was development of construction documents that were issued for construction bids. Rewald took those documents and started putting together their bid documentation on May 20th, I believe, or 26th. Then they issued this for public bid to area contractors. I believe they received about 102 bids, and I believe Kurt will kind of talk you through what that process was. This was a public bid reading for all the bids that came in. And afterwards, there's a vetting out of those bids to make sure that the work scopes were covered. So Kurt may, speak a little bit more about that. And as Elizabeth mentioned, our recommendation tonight is for the GMP amendment to the base contract for Frank Rewald and Sons in the amount of $12,918,868. So in your packet as well is a summary of all the items involved with this recommendation. Keep in mind that there was about 11 and alternates that were included into the GMP package, and those alternates are outlined in our bid summary that you'll find in your packet as well. With that recommendation, we always have an order that is part of the project. That dollar amount is also presented into the summary, and that would be included as part of our recommendation as well. So with that, maybe I'll turn it over to Kurt to kind of wrap up his findings as far as the GMP package that they put together.
Say GMP for the public. Can you explain what GMP is?
Kurt, probably do that.
Absolutely. Good evening, and thank you for having me. My name is Kurt Ryder with Frank Rewald and Sons. To answer your question, GMP is guaranteed maximum price. Thank you for having us here tonight, and most importantly, thank you for your trust and confidence, Frank Rewald and Sons, to deliver this spectacular project to the township. We are humbled, grateful to be your CM and to be part of the project team. And we've had great collaboration with Elizabeth and Tammy, team with Township, Robert with Plant Brand, and Eric and team Henning Smith and the rest of the design team. Excuse me. As Robert mentioned, we publicly bid the project. We were brought on early in pre-construction as the construction management process to help keep the budget aligned with the design. And we are proud to say that the pre-construction process worked very well. We delivered 2 estimates as schematic design and design development. And then we bid the project, and bids were generally very close in line with the budget estimates that we had been giving. So we hope and trust that you guys are happy with where the numbers landed and where the bids came in. We publicly bid the project. We had a bid opening at our offices. We had a pre-bid meeting here with the bidders, and as Robert mentioned, we received 102 bids for the project, which given this economy and the challenges that have been facing the construction industry, I think that was a good number. I think it speaks to the project and the bidders' interest in being part of the project. So we were glad to see that. I think that also contributed to the competitive bids received and helping bids meet the budget as well. So we conducted post-bid interviews and assembled our contract recommendations. And as Robert mentioned, our guaranteed maximum price is $12,918,000, or $12,918,868. Sorry, and there was some things that we worked with the team, and we got everything, I think, straight. And that, if there's any questions or comments. Mr. Miller.
What is the timeline to have this community center built and finished?
Great question, and thank you for the question. I meant to touch on that myself. We are projecting to start in the middle of September, where we are tentatively planning on a September 19th start date, pending final verification of the township and everything. We hope there's a little bit of flexibility if needed or wanted, but as of now, we're planning in the middle of September, September 19th, and being complete December 29th of 2024.
Thank you.
Any other questions? It's quiet. We've been working on this for years, and so we've asked questions at every meeting. He's above us wondering why we're asking more questions. Trustee Murray?
2023.
Yeah, I was just going
I was like, wow, that's a long time.
Yes, before the change of the new year, I'm sorry.
Any other questions?
So that was all I wanted. Any clarification on that?
Good one. All
We
right.
all jumped on that one.
Okay, so, great. Welcome on board, and guaranteed maximum price, hold to it. Okay.
Great.
So I have a motion for the construction manager's contract, $12.9 million. This motion was made by Trustee Martin and supported by Trustee Miller. Hearing no further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Excellent. We move on now to line item number 3, which is discussion, which is Clerk Wright. Would you make a motion?
With great pleasure, I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of community center project budget for a total of $16,988,022.
Right.
I'd just like to say this project is something that's near and dear to me. I've been a clerk for 14 years, and I've been pushing for a community center for 14 years. Because I believe this community deserves amenities just like any other community. And I commend the board for watching the budget, pushing the budget, and managing the budget. One of the things we need to do to make sure we put ourselves in a situation that we can do this. Township is in a pretty decent position now, in a great position to build a community center. And I just think it's the best thing for the residents. I think it puts us in the next place to be in that, to consider being called a good premier community, along with other things that we need to work on. But tip of the mountain. So with great pleasure, I like to make this motion.
Okay, trustee Fraser. Or clerk. All right. Okay, so go ahead.
Thank you. So as you heard in the previous presentation, the GMP is being presented for 12.9 million. This covers the hard construction cost, bid award numbers, as well as our construction manager fees. However, we also do have to take a look at the overall project budget as well. So as you see up on the screen, the blue table is the proposed GMP amendment amount, 12,918,868. The green table gives you a snapshot of the overall project budget, which we've been meticulously working on over the last year. As you'll see, the first bolded amount is that GMP number. We also have allowances for furniture, fixture, equipment, technology for 1.174 million. In addition to that, there are soft costs of the project. So these include our architect fee, our owner control contingency, permits, material testing, plant brand fees, commissioning, environmental fees, and abatement. These soft costs come in at $2,895,154, making the proposed budget $16,988,022. So next we'll talk about project funding, but I just want to pause again and allow for any questions. So our next slide details the community center cost summary in regards to our project funding. So again, our project cost is $16,988,000. We have paid cash for expenses to date totaling $705,798. We have ARPA funds that are proposed to be committed to the project of $2,984,099. A generous civic fund commitment of $851,924, as well as a generous commitment from Van Buren Township TDA of $1.137 million. The remaining costs are $11,309,201. I'm going to turn it over now to Supervisor.
At this point in time, the administration is recommending using the bond that is being paid off this year for the fire stations and for the land by the water tower. That is $450,000. Our bonding attorneys have told us that this amount of money will yield $6 million in bonding at current rates being a day or two ago, which leaves $5.3 million that needs to be funded. Administration proposes to fund that with fund balances that we have currently in our general and landfill funds or grants. And I am authorized by Wayne County to say that Wayne County Administration, this is for Warren Evans, is recommending approval of $4.5 million in grants to Van Buren Township for this community center. We have not yet received the contract. We expect it at any minute. When we do get it, we will have a special board meeting after we legally review it. We will then send that grant immediately, send that back to them, and the Wayne County Commission will have the ultimate say on whether we get it. We believe we will get it. We have talked to them for a year now on this. But I just want to add that none of the, we do have funding available. Go ahead. Okay. Are there any other questions? This is the, we all should probably make a comment, because I mean, this is a pretty big deal. And it's not very often that a community builds a community center. And this thing started 2 years ago. It started off with an extremely expensive $50,000 feasibility study that we went into it and found out how much money it cost to build these things, $7-8 million. It went in and asked, and it went in and found out, could we afford it? We could. How much it would cost to build it. We then did a survey of our community. I kind of was on the fence. When I got the numbers of 70+% wanting it, and when they found out what it actually was, the number went over 80%. You can't knock, if 80% of your community wants something, you really need to dig in and figure out how to do it. We figured out how to do it, and the cost escalated because the project got better. We wanted to make sure the seniors were brought in. We wanted to make sure teenagers were brought in. We wanted to make sure that we had meeting rooms and birthday rooms, and we wanted to make sure this and that. And it still exceeded up to 17 million. And then the community got together and they started giving us help with money and grants and help. And it's just a wonderful thing what we did here. And this board just kept on plowing away for 2 years. And we finally are at that position. And I think that everybody was probably going to want to make a comment. Let's see, Trustee Martin.
Through the chair.
Trustee Points, we'll just go right down the list. Is that okay?
So I will at least say this. This is my first year on the, well, my first term on the board. This had pretty much started this process before I came on. So I will make the best of this as I can. And what I'm going to say is thank you to the construction folk that we have that's going to build it for us. Thank you to the architects. Thank you to the township planning department. Thank you to the township engineer. But most and foremost, and anyone else that I may have forgotten, but most foremost, definitely foremost, I think that the largest applause and debt of gratitude should be displayed toward Elizabeth Renault and Tammy Doring and Jennifer Zangline and all of the VBT family that put forth the efforts into this to bring it to fruition. I think that we would not be in the great position that we're in now without their outstanding abilities and talents. So I say thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart, and I applaud you all, and I hope you all will enjoy it today.
Trustee Martin?
The topic, but I am so excited about this project. This is something that I had envisioned for many years. And now to see it finally coming to a date where we're actually going to break ground, September, I think is monumental. As was said previously, the community does deserve this and they want it. And we are going to build a state-of-the-art community center that will be there for everyone, and it should be here for a long time. Appreciate all the hard work again. I think it's going to be great. Go ahead. I'm sitting here in the days because, like I said, I actually got to the point that I didn't think it was coming to fruition. While I sit here and think, I want to go back further than this. I want to thank the Fairview Township Recreation Committee, because I remember sitting in the meeting one afternoon, and I said, if you don't ask for anything, you don't get anything. Because the committee had a habit of just meeting and never asking for anything from the board. I'm talking about not just recreation, but the parks and everything. So I made a statement that I wanted them to put forth a resolution to ask for something that the community needed. And this is one of the resolutions they put forth to be bring to the board to consider building of a recreation center. And that's what kicked off the surveys and everything. Now let's take a step forward. I would like to also thank the team. I'm just going to say the team, but the team is led by two amazing individuals, which I always thought would be great to lead any project. This is a huge project, $18 million out of the budget. It's a big project to lead, and you guys are taking it and moving forward with Jennifer Zangline, Jennifer Wright, the whole team that started the whole project. Brian Preston, Frank Wall, the whole team, appreciate everything. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I raised 2 kids here. I'd be fortunate enough to enjoy this, but I can imagine just seeing the faces on kids that's coming, new generation. I had a couple of gentlemen come to my office last week. One gentleman asked me, he was probably in his early 40s. He said, "The recreation center still on?" And I said, "It is." He said, "Great, I can't wait." And I think that's the attitude of the majority of the residents in this township. You can't wait. Like I said, you have a lot of followers, but you have very few leaders. You have a lot of people that make up, you have a silent, what they call the silent minority that makes up all the noise. And it's the silent majority and the vocal minority. The silent majority just sits back and wait to see what you're gonna do to take care of them. Because they put you in office and they figure they don't need to say anything because they voted for you to speak for them. And those are the people that I always think about whenever I make a decision. Those people that put me in office to make the best decision for them in this township. And that's what I always try to do. And I think this is one of those decisions. And I thank the board for being able to see through the weeds to get us here. I mean, it was a long fight, but we saw it. And I think this is one of the biggest things that I've done since I've been in office. So I think it deserves a lot of conversation.
Those weeds were pretty high.
Senator Bud.
Well, I guess I just say a thank you to everybody that everybody else has thanked, because we are certainly glad that we're moving ahead with this project. But I guess the one thing I could say, build it, they will come. I want it to meet the needs from our youngest toddler to our oldest seniors. So you build it and we'll get them here.
Trustee Miller.
It just seems like yesterday we were in Leon's office, Trustee Martin, myself, and Leon, coming up with a plan for this community center. And I'll never forget that day. I came from a conference and here we were, 3 of us talking about our vision. So it's wonderful to see it come forward. My only concern is how the heck are we going to get the seniors out of Haggerty Road School once it gets built? They're pretty happy. Continued.
I think everybody's been well spoken on this, and I agree that it's a project that we and welcomed.
We've been pretty blessed. I know people talk about what a bad time it is to build. It isn't been. It's been the perfect time, unfortunately, for us, because we started out with a $7 million community center, and we figured out how to maintain that cost by calling in partnerships with DDA, Civic Fund, state, the county, thankfully the federal government. So it's worked out pretty well for us.
Through the chair, I'd just like to thank everybody who worked so hard on this, including the supervisor and the clerk, and all of us that, put in the effort to make this happen.
I'm going to call back to when you guys had that meeting in the community center. You had that meeting in the community center because I told you guys I could raise X amount of $7 million to build out the DNR site. And they came in there and they told me that. So okay, fine. Then we worked on the DNR site.
I don't have to know every detail.
Okay. I have a motion. I forgot that. By Clerk Wright, and that is supported by Trustee Miller. Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Yeah, close one. All right. We're on to item number 4, discussion for approval of special land use for Myers Store. You want to make the motion?
Sure. I'd make a motion that we approve a special land use for the redevelopment of the Myers store at 9701 Belleville Road, including a drive-through pharmacy.
Trustee Frazier?
All right. Hello again, board. Back to the side of reviewing things, not building things, but I wanted to just take an opportunity to explain a recently reviewed project that the planning commission looked at last week's meeting. As the Supervisor mentioned, this is a proposed redevelopment of the Meyer site at 9701 Belleville Road. It is a proposal to take the pharmacy and turn it into a drive-through pharmacy and to modernize the facade of the store and to make some additions to the gas station and along with some other site improvements, including landscaping and paving and wayfinding improvements. So I'll just give a little bit of a description about the plan. We do have Craig Armstrong from Elevatus Architecture, who was the designer for this project. And I'll go through just some basics of the project and what's being asked of the board tonight so you can make an informed decision. This is the Meyer store that I'm sure everybody here is quite familiar with. You can see some of the design changes. If you look at this a plan view, you can see that the garden center up on the northwest edge of the store is going to be condensed, and there will be a new drive-through aspect of the pharmacy. When you enter the site, you drive by the window and then to the right if you're coming from the south. And you can see some other golden areas where there's going to be some restriping and some paving improvements. There'll also be some landscaping. And the township board's task here is really to review the special land use for the drive-through aspect of this site. Any drive-through use in the township that's accessory to a commercial use requires special land use approval, which entails a planning commission review, a public hearing at the planning commission, and a review by the township board. Drive-throughs entail a lot of stacking and a lot of particular traffic intensity that you don't see at other uses that don't involve drive-throughs. So there needs to be some extra care and attention paid when these plans are approved so that they have a minimal impact on the site and the surrounding properties. So again, the drive-through aspect of this is the main thing that the board is being asked to consider tonight. Just some basics of the plan. This is a very large, as all Meyer stores are, it's a large store. The existing footprint is about 232,541 square feet. With the conversion to the drive-through, the main store is actually reducing in size by roughly 6,000 square feet to 226,626. And there will be a minor addition to the gas station out in the front portion of the site as well. Get a closer look at that drive-through pharmacy area up at that northwest edge of the store in this image. And I do want to just credit the design team for proposing some really tangible improvements to the facade of the store. This is going to make the Meyer store look a lot more modern. You'll see that there's still a significant amount of brick and glass used, but you have the more that kind of rectangular form along the storefront, including where the drive-through is proposed. That brings it in line with some of the modern store facades. So the planning commission was in support of the architectural changes to the building. So the public hearing was held last Wednesday, the 13th, and the recommendation was made to you all tonight to go ahead and approve the special land use request for this drive-through addition or renovation. So I'm here to answer any questions you have. Otherwise, I'll just recommend approval.
Right.
And I guess I'm looking at this right. So I'm assuming that they eliminate the, what is that? The north side, they have a area there. What is that? A garden center? They're eliminating that.
You're pushing it back. They're condensing it so that it's pushed back to the east or closer to the rear rear of the building. Look at this image here. This portion here, it's still the garden center. This here is the driveway. Okay.
Any more questions? I have a motion by Treasurer Bud, supported by Trustee Frazier. Hearing no further discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Let's see, next item is discussion on to consider approval of resolution to schedule a hearing for the step, oh, hold on. On the next item, I probably should recuse myself. I don't know, you're the the constitutional rules of order guy. So how do I go about a recusal motion?
Someone make a motion to recuse.
I will make that motion to have the supervisor recuse himself.
Supported by Trustee Martin. Then we take a vote, roll call. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I'm recused. I'm handing off the gavel to the treasurer. And move through.
Okay. Director Luckett, it is your baby.
Don't we have to get an approval? What did we get on the?
Good evening, board.
Okay, we made a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Same. He is excused. Larry.
Today before again, I'm here for you consider approval to initiate special assessment district for the Greenbrier subdivision. 176 parcels residents in that subdivision. Here with me is the HOA board that set forth for this process to move forward. Board.
That's what I said.
I think you need a motion.
Motion.
Make a motion, I support it. Now you
Will you
okay?
make the motion
Yes.
to move ahead with setting the special assessment? And who seconded?
I did.
Okay.
Now you good.
So with us tonight is the HOA board from the Greenbrier subdivision. They went out and received 2 quotes to have this road improvement done in their subdivision, which is in dire need. And as we know, supervisor that supported it, lives in that subdivision. So I'm here to ask for approval to move this process forward so we can set the first of 2 hearings that we need to roll in order for this process to take place. With that said, this project is coming in at approximately $750,000, which roughly comes out to be about $4,200 a resident. And they'll be able to pay that back over 5 years at a 1.5%. That, we have questions for me or the HOA board?
I have a question for the board. HOA, the HOA, what's the temperature of your homeowners on this?
We have a good response where we took the petitions out. So the hard part is getting everybody home that's on the deed to get the signatures, especially when you have 2 people working and one works days and the other's afternoon or midnight. So it was a lengthy process, but we got it done. Also, we have two bids that we considered. we chose ASI for the contractor because of the detailed plan and the areas where they're gonna do the work, what they're gonna do in the areas, et cetera, et cetera. It's in your package. I also have a representative here from ASI who probably like to ask you some questions, how this works, so that they know the process of what is done. And if you don't mind answering his questions so that you can be up to date and only have to be out here once. He doesn't live on this side of the west side of Detroit, so he drove an hour or so to get here. So if you don't mind, for the comments here, if you can address the board and ask some questions if he has, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Hi, my name is Marcus Nevada with ASI. It's elected to do this project. It really, as far as special assessment district, we work with them before. Students, monthly estimates and process. So I really don't have any real questions. Want to speak on the project?
Yeah, what we're doing on the project is replacing curbs that need it, the base, and then grind and build the base, as well as resurfacing the top. It's a complete, all in one project, not piecemeal. Originally, when we got the quote 3 years ago, which was higher than what we are getting for this today. So we want to go ahead and get this done.
If the assessment is approved, you'll be paid in full. And the residents, the homeowner will pay us back. Yeah.
Okay. I thought maybe you want to know how he's going to get paid, et cetera, et cetera. But if he's fine with it, they can work out the details later. I have a question for Treasurer Budget, Mike. On the special assessment, are the payments done once a year, or are you going to bill them every 6 months?
No, the payments are done once a year. They will be on the winter tax bill.
Thank you. Because that way I can inform my residents to get that once.
Thank
Thank you.
With that said, there will be formal for all of this.
Sure that it's to share, ask questions.
No, we've gone through this before. It's always been a success.
Any other questions? Do you have anything else? Is that it? Okay. Thank you. I have a motion from trustee Miller, supported by trustee Martin, to approve going out and, oh, I'm sorry. To schedule a public hearing for the establishment of the Greenbrier subdivision special assessment district. All in favor? Any motion carries. Thank
Bring back the supervisor? No? Yeah.
you.
All right, so it went down at lost.
I am a joy.
All right, so we're on item number 6. Okay, discussion on the consider approval of partnership with the DDA. Can I get a motion for this? And somebody want to read that?
I make a motion. To consider approval of partnership between Van Buren Township and the DDA to develop a SS48 action plan grant application package with the system weight trim funding scout division that would extend beyond the DDA boundaries, an estimated cost of $15,000 total. to be proportionated, divided in order for the DDA to remain compliant with PA 57 of 2018.
Support. Thank you. Mr. Quincy. Okay, Director Ireland, rare appearance.
Can you hear me? Now you can. Okay. Before I get started on this, I would just like to say, I think it's exciting every time I drive down the Brook Road and I see those kids playing on the splash pad. It is.
Back this weekend. I was there.
So at the May 24th DDA meeting, they approved the use of, it's a new thing called Funding Scout Services through Wade Trim Associates. What they have done is they have added a division to their company that's dedicated to helping communities in their pursuit of funding sources to assist in various development projects. Wayne Hoffman he is a grant specialist. He is the one that is head of that division. DDA staff, along with Supervisor Grant Rivera, met with Mr. Hoffman on the 11th of July for our kickoff meeting. And their service will assist the DDA in identifying and pursuing grant funding that's out there in accordance with our capital improvement plan. So as we were talking, it was very clear and very easy to see that many of the things could possibly go outside of the DDA boundary lines, and it only made sense perhaps to collaborate on it. There is a significant amount of funding out there, according to Mr. Hoffman, and from the state and the federal level. And he suggested that perhaps instead of competing against each other, that we work together. There is a new funding source through the federal infrastructure bill that was passed in 2021, and it's Safe Streets and Roads for All. It funds the development of safety action plans as well as implementation grants. So the first thing that would happen is we would develop an action plan that coincides with our CIP. And those grant awards are a minimum of $200,000. After that is completed, then you can go ahead and apply for a grant to implement that project. And those are coming out at a minimum of $5 million a piece. There is a 20%, at least 20% grant match, which is kind of normal. And I think if we collaborate on the action plan with grant, and it's approved by both the DDA and the township, we can use this action plan to apply for other grants down the road as well. The cost to develop this application is about $15,000. Or not, it's not expected to exceed, it will not exceed $15,000. And I would anticipate it probably would be more like a 50-50 split. The township unfortunately cannot do anything else. The DDA can't do anything outside of our boundary lines, so I just think it's a really good idea to partner. And if we do this, this will also keep the DDA in compliance with public activity discovery. This item is going to be placed on the DDA's agenda for next Tuesday. And just as an FYI for you, I did have a conversation with the DDA's finance committee last night about it, and they thought that was a good idea. Mr. Supervisor, I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
It started out as a DDA program, and it was just getting ready to take off. So I asked if I could meet with the Director Ireland and Wade Trim, their grant scout, to basically quiz him on some things with it, in the hopes that he was going to tell me some things I didn't know. He did a lot of things I didn't know. Things that you guys know is we're going out looking for grants constantly. We're looking everywhere. We're looking at sidewalks on Belleville Road, on Tyler Road, on, where else? Huron River Drive is $2 million. We almost got 2 million and then we lost the 2 million and then they told you you're not, we couldn't do it anymore. And now they're calling us back and saying, we might have it, do you have this? In which cases, they were gonna run onto the board. So, Belva Road widening is something that he found money in there for. Obviously, we have property on that lake, the MBNR site. We don't plan on doing anything until we get this community center up, running and operational, but it's time to start gathering money for that. You have to go out and start getting grants for it. There is a lot of money through the MBNR for parks, all of our parks. And of course, there's more money we need for the community center. So for $15,000 share of the DDA, I thought that was a pretty good bang for the buck. You did know about something that I didn't know about.
And the only thing that I will say is, I know where the DDA would perhaps take our half of the funding from, but I would have to look at you to decide where it might come from.
The thought was it would come from board other at this point in time, if there's a problem. Is that right, Treasurer? Which is your money, I mean, this board's operation.
Well, I think everybody knows what my biggest wish is. A center lane down Belleville Road.
Yeah. Yeah, we're working on it.
Keep pushing. You gotta be persistent. Right.
Does anybody have any questions regarding this wage grant scout?
Yes.
We've got a motion by Clerk Wright and supported by Trustee Boynton. Hearing no further questions, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Director Ireland.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Where are we at now?
Number 7.
What? Oh, number 7. Could you make the motion since you wrote it down?
I would make a motion that we approve the personal service agreement between Van Buren Township and Ron Akers as the municipal service director of Van Buren Township and as a sidewalk on the back.
Support. Just if I heard the word first, sorry. Okay. Okay. Deputy Supervisor Selman.
Good evening, board. So I'm here to introduce our late addition to tonight's agenda, which is the job description for the municipal services director and the personal service agreement for Ronald Akers. Without a meeting scheduled in August, we have elections, canceling one of our regular meetings at a budget review meeting, which is not an item that we wanted idling out there. So most recently, Mr. Akers was a public services director for the city of Ypsilanti, having previously served as a planning and economic development director here in Van Buren Township. We were all sad to see him go, but we all understood that he had an opportunity to further development of his career. We are all very lucky to get the chance to add a person of Ron's caliber to an already very talented team of Director Luckett, Director Power, and a new addition, Director Lawrence. And he returns to us upon approval as a more rounded individual with even more experience than when he left. Ron's experience, the resume speaks for itself. And for to add to that, his work ethic, and we all know what we're getting with him with his character and professionalism. So with that, we can answer any questions that you might have, but happy to present.
We're very excited to have this opportunity. We think we have a very good group of directors here. We're looking for an administrative assistant. When we found out that to replace Elizabeth Ronalds and Tammy Darwin's position, which is in the budget, but was not replaced yet. And when we found out that we had a possibility of getting somebody that actually filled all the needs, had the personality that fit our group, we didn't want to miss the opportunity. And we're very excited that he said yes. Any questions?
Through the chair.
Trustee Miller?
So just so that our residents understand and the rest of the township personnel, how will the ranking go here? Give me an org breakdown.
I can do that. Okay, trustee, Ron Akers will become the Director of Municipal Services. This is a position that was kind of held by Matt Best, who was Director of Municipal Services and Public Services over everybody else. It allows the three departments that will answer to him will be public services, planning and economic development, and water and sewer. And we found that this is the best way to keep those groups together because they tend to silo. And unfortunately for us, we don't have the people to silo. We need to help one area or the other area. They need to flow back and forth. And so this position, like Matt Best's position, was intended to do that. When Matt left, it was kind of Dan Selma's position to take that over. Which means running back and forth. Ron is respected by everybody in the fishbowl. He knows my economic development, so he can help Dan Power, take some of the load off his hands. Plus, they currently are obviously having lots of meetings. You've got planning and economic development's got 2 planning commissions, possible built zoning. Board of Zoning, BZA. Then they've got 2 trustee meetings, that's 5. Used to have 2 workshops meetings. So these are 5 days a week that they've got to stay till night. This is just getting a little bit much. He can allow them to start separating that out. Plus you've got the Environmental Commission, which is something he can help out with a lot, which we'd like to reinvigorate. It just, also, if you take days off, we are thin. We just, we're a one-man operation. We always have been. This way, Ron actually knows how to do all these other things, so he can step in and help out. Trustee Frazier?
I'm just glad he came to his senses and came back home. We need you, Ron. Come on. You're a great asset for the township, and we're glad to have you back.
Yes. Mr. Murphy?
My first question is, I have several concerns. My first one is, what is the impact on the budget? We have created a new position that I don't see a line item in our budget for to be funded. That's the first question.
Someone?
Sure, I can address that. So as a supervisor mentioned, there was an assistant that was already within the budget that was split in 3 departments, building and grounds, planning and economic development, and water and sewer evenly. That is where we would expense it from. Even split, that's how it's been suggested through their meeting. The full-time elected that split it evenly between those departments.
These, all 3 of these departments do have surpluses. They have surpluses. There's money left in their budget from either reduced costs or from building departments, increased revenues.
My next question is the job description. Who came up with this job description? Where'd this come from?
Canton, we sent it to the to Ron, and I sat down with it and went over it, and it looks pretty like a good one.
So our HR director didn't have anything to do with it?
Oh, no, she got it too. Nicole, did you see this?
I didn't see the job description.
Okay.
Who put on it?
Use the one from Gmp as the foundation.
So
I saw verbiage at the end that looked like Nicole's verbiage, but the actual job description we got from Canton, because it's a good job description for Director of Municipal Services.
but you took this job description to Mr. Akers before you took it to Director Sumter, or how did that work?
Director Sumter doesn't do the job description for the operational part of it. She did add, you added stuff, because I saw things that you added.
HR does all the job descriptions. Just to put that out there, 'cause I don't know where this is going, but HR is responsible for all job descriptions.
Okay, so The job description was what I wanted her to do, okay? So perhaps,
So who went and got this from Canton? How did this come about? I'm just trying to figure out.
I originally got it from Ken when I was told that Director Akers would possibly be coming back to us. Since we did not have this job initially, I did go out and find other municipalities that already had this job in their budget and in their job descriptions for me to borrow. It is new to the township, but it is not a new position to local government.
How did we establish this pay, the rate of pay? How was that established?
by negotiation,
We look at other communities for a similar position of this size for comparison.
Comparison, the one that we did look at is one we always typically go to is Pittsfield, but that is a newly created position and it is comparable to that one, however, not as expensive.
How much expensive?
Over there, they're paying approximately $120,000 for theirs, and that's just the number that I got from the person that is there. This one is a slightly lower rate, however, it is still the same job.
I see.
I have a couple more questions.
so go ahead.
So I just found out about this on Friday, that we were doing this. I had no idea that there was so much, I guess, over workload in those areas. And now that we're bringing this gentleman forward to this job, I'm just trying to figure out, why did we just hear about this Friday? And why aren't we communicating? If departments are having troubles or whatever, why aren't we talking about this beforehand and not pushing a higher, pushing a higher, in 3 or 4 days?
Okay, so just to be clear, for Director, well, for Ron Akers, this isn't about you at all. This is about what I did. Okay, so, all right. So, we were looking for an administrative assistant to replace. We had not even gotten it out. We discovered that Ron was out, and we thought what a great fit that would make. We didn't know that Ron was going to take the deal. We didn't want to further, you don't discuss employment negotiations in public until they say yes. When they say yes, then we called you. Yeah, I did call you. I called everybody. Okay. But we didn't call you for a PSA, a personal service agreement, to walk something out of the board. We thought we had plenty of time for that. Unfortunately, our August meeting is August 2nd, which is the election, which we ended up having to cancel. We then were looking at August 16th, which is not a problem. We were going to bring it forward on August 16th. Mr. Akers wanted to, before he gave us notice to Solani and let him know that he was basically looking at another job, wanted to go through the board to make sure that he had a sure job in hand before he moved forward. We didn't want to wait till August 16th and then have him give his 60 days from August 16th. But basically, instead of waiting 2 months, we would have waited 3 months. So yes, I did. That's why I did contact you guys and say I'd like to walk this on.
Right, you did.
I try not to keep it fun, but just.
It works for us. Supervisor had contacted me and I to make sure we would be interested in moving ahead with it. So we were very much aware. I think because of planning and everything, I think we were all very much aware of how much manpower had worked and we really needed to and basically, this is kind of the job that Matt had, but it just has a different title.
Well, through the chair, and this is something I brought up earlier today, the full-time electors are aware of things that go on in the workings of different areas, but the rest of our board, the 4 board members aren't, privy to that information. So My problem is that if there are some problems like that, then that's something we maybe should discuss beforehand and not on the Friday before you want us to vote on it on Tuesday. This has nothing to do with Ron Akers and I. You're highly qualified and to do this job. My problem is with the process and the way that things are being presented.
I don't know how I could have changed this process. I wish that I could, but I'd like to make you happy. I just don't know how I could have changed this process.
So if they needed help, then why didn't we put a bid out for an assistant or?
We were in the process of putting a bid out for an assistant, and we were also in the process of looking for interns.
So how did we come across Mr. Akers again? How did that work?
Somebody was looking, somebody mentioned that Ron Akers was looking for a job.
Somebody. Are you playing coy with me now?
I have another municipality contacted us for reference. How's that?
Just for Ron's sake, right now, you all have not approved his personal service agreement, so I would say it's kind of some of the information that you're privy to out of the conversation, and you know, put that in the minutes, please.
No more questions.
Yeah, we did not contact, we did not go searching to take him from this. He found out that he was.
Enough said about that. She just asked you not to talk anymore, so let's move on from that.
Darwin.
All right. Are there any other questions?
Yeah.
All right, I have.
I said
Oh.
I'm glad it came to it.
I know that. Okay, I have a motion by trustee Budd, supported by treasurer Budd, supported by trustee Miller. Do I have any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? We go to a roll call, don't we?
Trustee Boyd? Yes. Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Martin? Trustee Frazier?
Yes.
Trustee Bud? Clerk Wright votes yes. Supervisor?
Yes. And typically you come up and shake your hands.
But don't.
No, this is purely
No,
between us.
okay, so just-
No, come on up here. And come and shake hands and say hi. Yeah. Totally, yes.
Mike, why don't you wait till after the meeting? Why don't you wait till after the meeting?
Oh, yeah.
Or unless you're ready? Or maybe not?
Make a motion, we approve the fireworks display permit application by River of Life Church for August the 13th for their fireworks display.
Go ahead. Hours.
Board, as Deputy Supervisor mentioned earlier, the August meeting is far away because we have a gap in August, and we were approached by River of Life Church with an application for a special event. We realized better get this in front of the board, so I believe this is the first time I've seen this application from this group. I think it's the first one we've received, but what they want to do is have a fireworks event on August 13th with the rain date of August 14th. With somewhere around 60 shells of fireworks, and it would be a special event subject to the rules and regulations that are available for commercial or non-small display fireworks. And the Pastor Eddie Markham is here from River of Life. He's got the event.
Yeah, what do you stop?
Right down Sumter Road, 16650, call
Oh,
Yeah.
with all flags in front.
Beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, so this is gonna be our 20th anniversary. When my parents started the church in 2002, a small building on Savage Road. And we have grown, that building there. And, so that's gonna be our 20th anniversary. On that Saturday, we just really wanted to have a community day. So we're gonna be in the community at some local gas stations, give us free gas. We have buyers give us free groceries. Visuals there. And then in the evening at 7 o'clock, we'll be at our church with, on our property, food trucks, some games, and things like that. And then also we're gonna have a small fireworks show. I say small because it's lower grade than the municipal grade that you normally see, like when the city shoots up on the municipal level. It's a lower grade fireworks. That we put on by a professional company. Insurance policy, all over, they're insured. And all that. I also spoke with the fire chief, McKinley, and our fire marshal, and they looked over the property, they're very familiar with the property, they said they didn't see any problem at all. They don't even need the fire truck on standby. He needs a 250-foot radius clearing, we provided that. So it's about a 10-minute show. I spoke with some of our neighbors that are on the north side of our property. They're actually looking forward to the event.
Thank you. I don't think anybody have a question on fireworks? No. Okay, I got a motion by Bud, I got support by somebody. Frazier. All right, hearing no further questions, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Looking forward to it. All right, next is reports. I have none. Next is public comment for non-agenda items. Anybody wishing to make a public comment for non-agenda items, come forward now.
Wow. We spent a lot of money tonight. Every time I come here, it reminds me how overtaxed I am. Of money is spent. Thank you, Mr. Martin, for your no vote there. I think that was kind of a shady hire. I would have tabled it, let him bring it back next month. So you can take a lesson from him on that. I do have a concern about the air show. I don't know. Oh, they blocked that E-Force Road off. They're making them semis. Do you hand turns to go back? I don't know why they just, the Angels only fly about half hour each show. And they have that roadblock off the whole time, making people make U-turns and go all the way back down the Bell Road or back there. They had hundreds of no parking signs, not one of them on my service drive though. They continue to have to chase people off the service drive. They had hundreds of no parking signs, but not one on our road. So, that being said, it seems like they could just let the semis through. It's pretty difficult for a semi to make a U-turn from the westbound back into the eastbound. It was terrible. I felt bad for them. And they could have handed out speeding tickets, because everybody that had to turn around were awful angry, and they hot rodded back down the Bell Road. They could have made all kinds of money there, speeding or double parking or impeding traffic or whatever they make their money off of. But so that being said, maybe next year, let the trucks through. Just tell them if there's no stopping in between, you stop, you're gonna get a ticket, and just give them a ticket. It's that simple, right? I understand no traffic when the Angels are flying, I get that, but they only fly about a half hour. So maybe an hour all day long. I think they did 2 shows. I don't know if you got your free tickets. Get your free tickets. She didn't. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I will bring up these concerns with the police, and we don't always make the decisions on what road gets shut down and where there is no parking. That's often made for us by the airport and the people who run the show. Anybody else wishing to comment? Public comment? Is there anybody online who wishes to comment?
comment.
Yes, so there was a couple of comments that were left online. One that was as soon as public comment ended, and a couple that was comments and questions that were made during the community center agenda item. So one question that was asked is, why are ARPA funds being used for a community center instead of immediate needs related to COVID? And there was a follow-up comment from that saying that is a lot of ARPA funds that could be used for emergency situations. Other communities are using their ARPA funds appropriately within the funding guidelines.
Okay, so just to be clear, we cannot spend a dime of ARPA funds unless it is within the guidelines of the ARPA funds. And the ARPA funds guidelines clearly lays out that community centers are part of that, especially when they have teen centers, when they have senior centers involved with them. And as far as COVID's concerned, since it's laid out within the COVID, this also community center, we're looking at having hospitals, we're having social worker group people join in. They're going to have some space in here. They're going to have some ability to utilize this for the public. These are all basics that we've always talked about having inside of our community center. It's going to be truly a community wellness center. It's going to have all of those aspects involved with it.
Thank you, Supervisor. And then there was one more question saying, will the community center be free to residents?
The plan is yes, but the board will make that determination, but we built it so that it would be free to residents.
Okay, that's all the comments that I had that were, oh, I'm sorry, one second. Okay, I do have a virtual hand raise, so I will, give me a moment and I will unmute. Okay.
Hi, this is Ashley Shukite. Giving an update. So for any homeless shelter in Wayne County, they are completely full. There is at least a 3-month backup on a waiting list already, and they are not accepting new names for any emergency shelter or transitional housing. Washtenaw County is 1 to 3 months backed up also for a shelter, as well as the city of Detroit, Macomb County, and Oakland County. What I have been told is where previously we sent people to ChristNet, which was a group of churches that would allow people to stay for emergency shelter. That program has been closed since 2020, and it is closed indefinitely. There is also no more subsidized housing. The program indefinitely has been closed for Parkwood Manor. They do accept vouchers, but it is depending on the room size, all the way up to a 1.5 year wait. And there also is no vouchers currently or planned in the near future, or emergency vouchers for the county, for Wayne County. So just giving an update, there is nowhere for people to go.
Thank you.
So we have additional work to do.
Are there any updates, Supervisor, from our last meeting?
We have an agreement that we are going to, the ordinance, I believe, calls for you cannot stay more than 30 days and for permanent housing within a hotel. We have determined that if they are actively searching out, going on the list to find housing elsewhere, then we will be understanding of that. We also found out that a good portion, and I mean like 50% of our portion of our hotels have people staying there more than 30 days and sometimes more than a year, because they're general electric engineers, they're nurses that are here for COVID. There's another group that's got almost 100 people in there. They're working at their location. I don't want to bring up who they are, the company. But it turns out that this is a massive part of hotels. They're designed for this. I mean, so anyway, so we worked that out. Basically, they also have been openly told that we are going to enforce any other rules stringently. If there's any illegal operations going on within those hotels, we are going to be aggressively prosecuting. We are opening up discussions now with some of the hotel owners that we don't feel are properly policing their own act. And we are sending our cops over there to talk to them. That's your update. All right, is there anything else?
No, Supervisor, I have no other comments or questions that were left in the chat.
Anybody from the board wishing to comment?
Move to adjourn.
I guess
All right, I got a motion by Boynton, I got support by Wright. I'm taking it. Hearing no discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.